Byron York's daily memo over the Washington Examiner. He writes, every day some new poll is published showing Joe Biden with a big lead over Trump. Some Trump supporters ignore the news because some of the polls were wrong in 2016. Byron says they shouldn't. The polls are real. There's no doubt Trump is facing a serious challenge. But those polls don't tell the whole story, he writes. Recently, we've seen a number of indicators to suggest not that the polls are completely wrong, but that the race might change in its final 22 days. Start with a jaw-dropping number from Gallup. And this was a poll that a lot of pundits ignored. Certainly the mainstream media ignored this. But in a survey that was taken September 14th through the 28th, Gallup asked voters their version of the famous Ronald Reagan question, would you say you and your family are better off now than you were 4 years ago, or are you worse off now? A whopping 56% said yes, they are better off now. 56%. Remember, the poll was taken just a couple of weeks ago, after months of anxieties associated with the coronavirus pandemic, the lockdowns, the accompanying economic plunge, and a solid majority still said they're better off today than before Trump was elected. Trump's number was better than any other recently re-elected president. In December of 2012, just after Barack Obama was re-elected, 45% told Gallup they were better off than 4 years ago. In October of 2004, just before George W. Bush was re-elected, 47% said they were better off. Again, remember, Trump's number, 56%. In October 1992, before George H.W. Bush lost his bid for re-election, 38% said they were better off. And in July of 84, before Reagan was re-elected in a landslide, 44% said they were better off. So as Byron York concludes, Trump's 56% is better than all of them. Also, normally one would expect a president in office at a time when a strong majority felt better off than 4 years earlier to be in a strong position for a second term. Yet Trump is trailing Biden by 9.8 percentage points in the Real Clear Politics average of national polls, and is also behind, by various figures, in key battleground states like Florida, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And then there's this. Gallup asked, please tell me whether you agree or disagree with Trump or Biden on the issues that mean most to you. 49% said they agreed with Trump on their most important issues, while 46% said the same of Joe Biden. And then there's news that in some critically important states, Republicans are strongly outpacing Democrats in signing up new voters. Of the 6 states Trump won by less than 5 points in 2016, 4 of them, Arizona, Florida, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, permit voters to register by party, NBC reported. In all 4 states, voter registration trends are more robust for the GOP than 4 years ago. Byron York adds more robust than Democrats, too. In Pennsylvania, according to NBC, Republicans added 135,000 new voters this summer, while Democrats added 57,000. So there are, Byron York, to answer your question, Daryl, why isn't Trump leading in the polls? Or at least why isn't he at least even in the polls? Byron York writes, in part because so many voters say they're turned off by his personality, his manner, his style, his public performance in office. In the same poll, in which 56% said they're better off than 4 years ago, Gallup also asked whether voters agree or disagree that Trump or Biden has the personality and leadership qualities a president should have. 49% say Biden has those qualities. 44% said Trump has them. So there's a great irony of Trump's status, he writes. He had an advantage over other 2016 contenders because of his celebrity, because he had for years been the star of a highly rated TV show. Now he's struggling, Byron York writes, because even though he can point to solid accomplishments, the economy, deregulation, judicial appointments, tax reform, defeating ISIS, reducing illegal immigration, and more. He has not given some Americans the performance they want. They want a president who acts like their vision of a president. Trump does not. And that, more than issues, more than whether voters are better off today than they were 4 years ago, might be the deciding factor in 2020. So it's a mixed analysis, but it kind of suggests that this race could change dramatically over the next 22 days. John, you're on the Mike Gallagher Show. Hi, John.
Hey, Mikey. How you doing, buddy?
Good, bud. How are you?
I'm in New York here, and we have rallies pretty much every three days, every Saturday, every Sunday.
Wow.
Just 3 weeks ago, we had a rally where they went from Comac out to Riverhead, which is probably about 40 miles. Over 3,000 cars showed up. 3,000 trucks, 4x4s, cars, people going nuts. And let me tell you something. The reason why Joe Biden is going in underneath the radar, because he's afraid, like that news reporter in Arizona said, I'm here and there's nobody here. Because if he states where he's going to be, just like where he said he was running for Senate with the Trump people beeping in the background, they'll have more Trump supporters than they will have Biden reporters.
Did you see the video from Toledo, John, where the Trump supporters were drowning Biden out and they're yelling four more years?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We just went into the city. We went into the city last week. We went from Lake Ronkonkoma straight into the city in front of Trump Tower, not knowing that Trump Tower, where he was going to be sick with COVID. We donated 6,000 perishables to the homeless shelters. You know, the deplorables, us, the Trump supporters.
I know.
To the homeless shelters around the neighborhood. But that doesn't get any publicity.
No, it doesn't. But you got to keep doing it. Don't lose the faith. Keep it up, John. And incidentally, for the record, the president was not at Trump Tower during COVID. He was in the White House being treated, and first in the hospital and then recovered in the White House, and is now negative. So I don't know. It looks like there will be another debate. What a big mistake. What a huge mistake it was for the Presidential Debate Commission to insist that this second debate, which should have taken place now, this week, was canceled. Because the president is now, according to his doctors, literally negative for COVID. He beat COVID. Where's that clip, Derek? Which clip is the one that has the president confirming it? I got so much today. But the president's doctor issued a statement last night. The president is negative from COVID. And yet they flip out over anybody doesn't wear a mask. Here's ABC's Terry Moran. Do you know they were literally calling out Amy Coney Barrett for taking her mask off to answer the questions from the Senate Judiciary Committee? This is how bad ABC has gotten.
Barrett herself sat stoically for 5 hours wearing a mask, which she hadn't done in her Rose Garden nomination ceremony. And when she removed it to speak, she spoke of her mentor, the late Justice Antonin Scalia, whose judicial philosophy she shares.
I mean, like calling her out. Richard Grinnell tweeted something out. Rick Grinnell tweeted out about ABC News. ABC News is unwatchable. ABC News with David Muir has become a Democrat propaganda outlet. It's what the media is doing across the board. Even CBS Sunday Morning, one of my favorite shows, with Jane Pauley this past Sunday, it had anti-Trump crap all throughout the whole show. It's an hour and a half show, and they're all in, trying desperately to impact the outcome of this election. Here was ABC's David Muir on coronavirus. Listen to this.
And now to the coronavirus tonight, cases on the rise in more than half the country. And a new study tonight suggesting that the virus can survive on some surfaces longer than we thought. Up to 28 days on some surfaces. They actually looked at the surface of phones. Also, hospitalizations rising in 35 states. Experts warn an increase in deaths could follow. And this number tonight, more than 215,000 American lives lost to this virus.
Now, every bit of that is terrifying, right? Until you think about, well, the reality in the big picture, as Rick Grinnell tweeted out, I was just trapped. I never watch ABC News with David Muir, but I was just trapped and did so. Wow, are they ever biased? They're scaring people on COVID-19 by not giving death or survival percentage rates compared to positive rates. Every story was negative towards the Republicans. They mocked Mark Meadows and Amy Coney Barrett for taking off their masks to speak, while never mentioning that every single Democrat did too. They don't even realize, he writes, how biased they've become. It's a crisis in the media. Well, of course, that's been around for a long time. Nothing new about that, Rick.